So before we move on to our script for our enemy, I want to talk about in the previous videos you saw my water was pink, and this is an issue between versions of Unity. And if you looked at the water material, it would probably be pink and there would be an error, and that's in the fx/water component. So you find that FX Water Pro component, which is in the shaders. It's a shader issue, and you open that up and you change the Unity underscore object 2, which is TO, Unity to underscore object 2 world. Now you might want to keep that little information handy dandy, because the issue, and you can do a search for it, pink water, Unity pink water, and you'll find all kinds of stuff. So here they're telling you that you have to change it to world. Well, guess what? When the updates come in, it might change back to the Unity Object 2 World component. So you want to keep that information kind of stored inside your head there. But for now, that's the fix, and it is a Unity glitch, and it happens all the time to people, and they call me up, oh, my water's pink. It's no big deal. It's no big deal at all. You just go into your water shaders and open up that little particular shader file, and you once again change anything that says object to world to object to world. Take out the Unity. That's all there is to it. Then you save that. Alright, let's move on to our enemy. So our enemy is our iguana. And the iguana has so much going on here in the inspector window. And this does matter, the order. Anything that's up top is the first thing that gets called upon. Boom, 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 and it just goes on down. So one thing we're not going to use here with our iguana is the character script, and the character script actually starts moving the character just as we would our player. So we don't want our enemy to move in the same function. So we're going to actually remove that script, and if you are following along, you probably got a lot of warnings that things aren't happening, So I'm going to actually remove that component from our particular enemy. So once I do that, guess what? We're going to apply it so it applies to the prefab. Next, I want to open up my user controller script, and I'm going to actually replace this script with what I have in the little document. Now you can copy paste, but I would prefer that you try typing this, and we did this before. You have to come in here and add your using, and once you start typing, it'll come up using, and then you say Unity. Sorry, I can't type. So you do your Unity editor dot screen blah 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 blah. So that's how I would prefer that you add your script. Now, for time's sake, we're not going to do that here. I'm just going to add it and make sure nothing weird copied over. So what I have here is I've added the it's kind of like a library. I've talked to you about this before. The scene management, we use that in the level manager. Do you remember adding that? That is so your scene can change. You need to call upon that in order to load another level. So our class is our controller. That is our class. So the serialized fields are things that are going to show up within the inspector window. So you'll see that anytime it either says public or serialized, it will show up in the inspector window. Private means it's only going to call itself in this script. It's not going to go search out, or any other script is not going to come call upon it. Now here's where our nav mesh agent, look, our iguana nav mesh agent is going to go around with this animator, and it's going to go around this nav mesh, move about, and I have little comments here to tell you what's going on. So let's save this script, and it's looking like something is going to have an error here, but we're going to check it out. Come over here, and it's looking like, oh, there's a few little errors or warnings, but I don't see an error. It's telling me about the builds. So when I build things, there are obsolete components, and that's just going to keep happening because I have those builds set up in there. So I'm just going to clear that. Those builds I don't care about, you know, they mean nothing to me now. So let's take a look now. We have our script on our iguana, and we have now we have to do our target here in the inspector. Remember I told you something's going to come here? So what is our target? Guess what our target is? Our target is our third person player. So we have to call upon that particular third person, which is this one, is the yellow woman. Let me make sure. Let me just make sure. Yes, yellow woman idle. Just wanted to make sure because I was working on another one that had a different player. So I was like, what? Wait a minute, what? Okay. So I'm going to double click that little yellow woman. I'm going to save my scene, and I'm going to save my project, and I'm going to apply anything that happened to the iguana first, and then save my scene and save my project. See, sometimes I forget things. It happens. It's okay. Then I'm going to select play, and I'm going to see if in fact some enemy comes towards me, and I see it coming towards me. Blam! And you know what? It is not changing. It is not colliding. So something has happened here that has said, nope, this is not going to work. So I have to find out what that is. So upon research, what I found was I had failed to tag my player with player. How exciting. And one other thing, which I'll show you. So in our script, we're telling our enemy that once they collide, you know, on trigger enter, when they collide with something that has the tag player, then that object becomes false, it disappears, and the load scene lose appears. So what happened was my player here, my third person controller, was not tagged, so I had to tag that, and then not only that, but the little iguana had not been triggered because it calls on trigger enter, so we had to trigger it, so the enemy needed to have the is trigger selected. So once again, I had to select is triggered, and I had to make sure that my player and my third person had the tag player associated. So that's all there is with the scripting. Please save, and then we'll move on to module 4.